my name is Jake Rutigliano, and what I'm about to read to you is The Reluctant Wizard, written by me. Prologue. Once, in the year 1692, there lived a great and terrible wizard, or warlock, or sorcerer, or magician, or enchanter, whatever you want to call them by their ranks, known as Vorens Rothbane. He ruled over a large and mighty coven of witches and wizards in Salem, Massachusetts, the groaning star of the 13 colonies, where many other users of magic assembled under a private society, far from the prying eyes of mortals who thought they were dangerous, and sought to persecute them. For a while, this society of witches and wizards, and other magical creatures like goblins, ghouls, ghosts, fairies, elves, trolls, ogres, and giants, and many other magical creatures that you may find in fairy tales and books on mythology, worked in harmony together. But some witches and wizards, considering themselves the most human-looking of the bunch, wanted to introduce themselves to the mortal world, hoping to use their magic and abilities to solve all of their problems. Yet Vorens wanted to take it by force, because he knew that the mortals were very religious, and any magic coming from his fellow witches and wizards would be seen by them as a sign of the devil. Of course, some demons were welcome in the magical world, but not all of them, given that a huge majority were born purely evil. But that's another story entirely. Rothbane was prepared to take Salem and the rest of the mortal world by means of his own magic. Perhaps he would have been better off on a more civil negotiation, for on the eve of his assault, the Salem witch trials began, and at least 200 women and 5 men were hung or jailed for their so-called violations against their god. Some of these witches were actually mortals who had no control over the magic within them, while others got violently ill. Mass hysteria began to reach fever point, and the Puritans, led by local reverends, banded together to find larger bunches of the people they dubbed heretics. When the Salem townsfolk arrived at the cottage that served as Rothbane's sanctuary for the surviving witches, they immediately made their escape back to the magical world. They ran by foot on a long road towards a small forest that had enough room for 3 villages combined. The townsfolk closed in with their torches, and Vorens decided to fight fire with fire by producing a wall of red-hot flames that separated his group from the townsfolk on opposite ends. The mob stopped, and Vorens made his announcement. "I must admit, my fellow mortals, that it was rather thoughtless and brash of me to take your world by force, but some day our 2 worlds will meet under more peaceful circumstances, and when that day arrives, you will not frown upon us as enemies of the Church, but you will accept us as your allies." With a swish of his red cloak, he and the surviving women turned on their heels and disappeared into the darkness. No one dared to cross the flames, and by the time they did, the wizard was nowhere to be found. Many thought that Rothbane's words were purely nonsense, but in time things were soon forgotten, and the magical world was nothing more than a distant memory from a time of great persecution. I hope you liked it.